Now, earlier this week, I posted a video trying to prove why casting in animated movies is actually very important, and that whether they're a voice actor or a celebrity, sometimes there is only one perfect combination for a character and actor. I even argued that sometimes these actors can actually improve an otherwise not great movie when they give it their all in a role that they were honestly meant to have. But that being said, I'm sure many would argue that this applies just as much to live action movies as it does to animated ones. And today, instead of listing a bunch of examples like I did in the aforementioned video, I'd like to go over just one movie that I believe perfectly demonstrates this point, with that movie being the infamous 1997 superhero movie Batman and Robin. And needless to say, there will be spoilers ahead, so in case for whatever reason you don't want anything ruined about this movie, you probably shouldn't proceed with this video. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Batman and Robin is pretty much considered hands down the worst Batman movie ever made, one of the worst superhero movies ever made, and actually one of the worst movies of all time, period. Though honestly I've seen movies much worse than this, but that's not relevant here. The point is, after how dark Tim Burton's Batman movies were, Warner Brothers pushed them back too far in the other direction and took it to a level of camp not seen since the Adam West TV series. And that, combined with a plot that might have worked in the comics but didn't translate well on screen, resulted in a movie that had both its director and lead actor offering anybody who'd seen it in theaters their money back if they ever came across them. But that being said, there is one aspect of this movie that does deserve some genuine praise. And given the theme of this video, that would obviously be the cast. And one actor I'd like to single out in particular here is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now sure, he does spout 1,000 bad ice puns, engage in some pretty silly behavior for a man that's supposed to be intimidating, and all around goes completely over the top in his portrayal. But when the script isn't trying to force him to be funny, he actually manages to deliver a pretty impressive performance. I mean, look at the scene where Poison Ivy tells him that Batman killed his wife. His reaction is genuinely heartbreaking. Or the scene where he finds out that she's alive. Schwarzenegger completely sells Freeze's pain, relief, and delight, as well as the fact that Batman's words are actually getting through to him. Really, pretty much any scene involving Freeze and his wife actually manages to be pretty sad in an otherwise campy and funny for all the wrong reasons type of movie. And this all pretty much comes down to Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance. To put it simply, he gets the character. He understands exactly who this man is and plays him the best he can with a script that doesn't give him much to work with. He knows Freeze is a genuinely good, brilliant man with a bad temper and a slightly frozen, please forgive me for that, conscience who's just desperate to save the woman he loves more than anything. So, even with the script actively working against him, Schwarzenegger plays him exactly that way, as a man who puts on the guise of an evil, over-the-top supervillain, but is actually just a desperate, heartbroken man who will go to extremely questionable lengths to save the woman he loves, while also sometimes succumbing to his bad temper and depression. And because of that, Mr. Freeze may just be one of the best parts of the movie due to the competent way that Schwarzenegger plays him. Because he's actually quite believable, both as a threat, but also as a man that's still capable of redemption. At least when he's not spewing ice puns and making his henchmen sing songs, that is. In other words, Schwarzenegger may have just been the perfect choice for the part, and had the movie been better written, he might have had the chance to prove it. Because again, there is a pretty great performance here, but the writers buried it under a sheet of ice and snow puns. But it isn't just Schwarzenegger either, because Michael Gough once again delivers a frankly perfect performance as Alfred the Butler, and even gets more to do this time around as he's diagnosed with a terminal illness. And as many have pointed out, the scenes focusing on that, as well as Bruce Wayne reflecting on just how much of a father figure Alfred really was to him, may just be the only parts of the movie that land exactly the way they're supposed to. There's even a lot of surprisingly profound lines spoken by Alfred, ranging from what it means to be Batman, to death not meaning defeat, to the importance of trusting others. And the poignancy of those lines, along with the completely sincere way Gough delivers them, almost makes you feel as if you're watching a completely different movie. Basically, the butler may always be the killer, but in this case he's one of the only things saving the movie. Gough never succumbs to the camp and plays his role as seriously as he would a Shakespearean play, and combine that with some pretty decent material to work with, and it's really no wonder why Alfred is considered one of the only standouts or bright spots in the movie. And once again, it all pretty much comes down to Gough's commitment to the role. The rest of the cast, however, is more spotty. For example, you can tell Chris O'Donnell is trying with everything he has to make the movie work, but he's unfortunately more subjected to the movie's bad writing and isn't really able to sell it as well as Gough and Schwarzenegger. Again, he's trying, but because of the way Robin's written, he doesn't succeed too well. And the same goes for Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. Now, she's even been quoted as saying that she has no regrets about doing this movie, and even said she felt that she learned some valuable lessons from the experience. And you can tell that she's trying really hard to sell her character as the ultimate seductress with the heart of a rotten tomato, and enjoying herself quite a bit at that. But in her case, I wouldn't say the problem is so much with Thurman herself, but more due to a combination of her writing and her wardrobe. Because they obviously wanted a major part of her character to be that she uses her sex appeal to get everything that her intellect can't get done. But I just don't think they ever quite get that translated on screen. Because the way both she and the other characters behave, you'd think that she was Marilyn Monroe walking around in a tiny two-piece skin-tight bikini, and ultimately her wardrobe is just not all that flattering to her looks. Now listen, I'm obviously not saying that they should have had Thurman walking around naked the whole time. But what I am saying is that if they wanted to sell her as a huge seductress that uses sex to get what she wants, then she should have had the wardrobe to match. That's why her first scene as Poison Ivy honestly works a little better, because the costume honestly fits her demeanor much better. And really, I don't know if Thurman was the best choice for the part. I think a woman who was more well known for playing seductresses, vamps, and villains might have been able to do more with the part. But Thurman nonetheless still gave it everything she got, and even if the character wasn't exactly in her comfort zone, still tried to play her as hateful, vile, and attractive. Though she still doesn't totally succeed in this regard, which is why that particular portrayal of the character became somewhat infamous after the fact. Because let's face it, audiences do like their share of seductive villains, but the writers way overdid it here, and rather awkwardly at that. And of course, there's Batgirl. Now, I'm pretty sure Alicia Silverstone was just completely miscast here, and combined with not great writing, caused the character to fall completely flat. Now, once again, Silverstone is obviously trying, but ultimately it just doesn't work out. And finally, there's George Clooney, who flip flops between trying to make it work and just giving up. But when he is putting in genuine effort, especially in his scenes with Alfred, he actually proves to be a better Batman than most would suspect. So, all around, this movie honestly had the cast to make the movie a success, and it was really the script and mandates from the studio that caused everything to fall apart. But at the same time, its cast also kept it from being a complete train wreck. Again, especially Schwarzenegger and Gao proved that there was the basis for a good story lurking in the script somewhere, but that poor decisions and studio interference ruined any chance of it seeing the light of day. And really, it's quite a credit to most of the actors involved that they still tried to make the movie work regardless of that. So at the end of the day, I guess the takeaway here is that ensuring you have the right actors for the right parts in any given movie is very important. But at the same time, they aren't able to carry a movie all by themselves, no matter how good they are or how perfect they actually are for their roles. Though, of course, there are hundreds of other movies out there that prove this exact same point, but I think Batman and Robin more than gets the point across. Alright, that's all I've got on that. So now why don't you tell me? Do you believe that the cast of Batman and Robin is one of the only things about the movie that can be considered in any way good? Or do you believe the performances are just as bad as everything else and that the movie is a terrible example of what I'm trying to demonstrate? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, I am no expert when it comes to acting. This whole video is based solely on my opinions as an amateur film lover. So if you don't agree with me on something I said in this video, that's perfectly okay. You're just as entitled to your opinion as I am to mine. And thank you all for watching. It's all greatly appreciated. And I hope to see you all next time.